Hey everyone, welcome to Small Group. You may have noticed immediately that the setting is a little bit different. I am in Barnabas, which is a camp on Keats Island off the Sunshine Coast, speaking to a bunch of pastors here. Alita is at her home in Langley. We're filming this not on Zoom, but on some other fancy medium that our video team has sent to us. And so,
We don't
Alita,
even know
great
what
to
it's
have
called.
you.
Thanks.
What was that?
I said we don't even know what the medium is called.
No, I don't know,
I don't
but
know.
it
But we're
it
here
seems like it's working.
so far.
Yeah, we're still going to do our segment, what's happening at the Way. One thing we've talked about week after week is the month of generosity, and this past Sunday was really the last Sunday of the month of generosity. I think I said week earlier, week of generosity. No, it's been a month of generosity. And this past Sunday was the last one. But there's still opportunity to give, even if you're hearing this on Tuesday night at small group. And we've really said again and again, whether it's $1, $10, it's just an opportunity to give together. And we're really sincere about that. Just like we're sincere when we say this isn't about compulsion, it's just about an invitation to bless other organizations that are doing amazing work around the world and around our city. And so we're hoping that people have been encouraged by the highlights of these ministries. And last week we heard from Promise Vancouver and from Brave and from Joy and Olivia, and it was really encouraging. And so that's one thing that has been happening at the Way and still is for, a day or two more.
Yeah.
And then we're going to report how far we've gotten when it comes to our goal of 150K. So that's very exciting. Another thing that we've talked about a lot, Alita, is this women's event. And this might be the last time we mention that, but you're in charge of it.
Yeah, I am. There's
It was
an
your
amazing
idea.
team. Yeah, we right as of last night, that there was 137 people, women registered. So
Right.
exciting. It does feel like,
Very exciting.
you should come. If you're a woman, you should be there. And I just to give a little more context, we're going to have some fun surprise things that I won't say, but it's going to feel very much like a Way event. It's going to have worship, word, prayer, but we're going to have dessert and a lot of time for connection. And I think the thing I'm most excited about is that this is all three campuses joining together, which I don't think we have quite done it in this sort of a way before. So this is all three campuses coming together. It's going to be multi-generational. I'm really excited for people in North Vancouver to meet people maybe they haven't met at West Point Grey. So it'll be really fun. Really excited.
Yeah.
So if you haven't registered,
Awesome.
come out, join us. It's going to be great.
And then that's what's happening at the Way. And who knows if on this medium we also have some kind of graphic for it. But I'll transition us into the topic for today. We're in a series called Signs of Glory, where we're looking at these signs or miracles that Jesus performed, recorded in the Gospel of John. And they're called signs because they point beyond themselves to the glory of Jesus, the uniqueness of Jesus, and the nature of God's coming kingdom. And so water into wine, the healing of the soldier's son from a distance. Jesus just speaks a word and the son's healed. The healing of the paralytic by the pool. We talked last week about the multiplication of the fish and loaves, these astounding miracles Jesus did. And this past weekend, you talked about another sign. And so why don't you recap for us what the story is.
Right. So it was out of John 6, and it's right like immediately after Jesus does the miracle or the sign of glory of the multiplication of the bread and the loaves. I think you did that last week, the bread and the fish. And so he multiplies that. And then after that, he walks on water. This is the story. It's kind of a semi-famous story, I think, of him walking on water. It's found in the book of John, but it's also found in Matthew and in Mark. And so one thing that we did on Sunday was look at kind of this, we stepped back out of John and looked at all the compilation of all of the stories to kind of, I think it gives us a bit of a well-rounded angle on the whole story. So we kind of get more of a 360 view of what was actually happening. And so there's a lot of things. One of the reasons I love small group is because we can read this story. It's very short, and we can talk in a smaller group about what does this teach you about Jesus. So the unique opportunity we have as a teaching team is that we kind of get to, say, well, this is what it taught me. And so I really narrowed in on just two things. Arguably, there are more things, but the two things that I narrowed in on that revealed, that this story in particular reveals to us about Jesus, is first that Jesus, these are maybe kind of elementary basic things, but I think they're important things to return to. And the first is that Jesus is so much bigger than we think, and he's also so much closer than we think. And so, we started with him being bigger because we see that he is just fundamentally, he's Lord over the waters, over the earth, over time and distance. And we read about how there's this storm. He walks on the water. The disciples see him, and I love, it says in verse 20, John 6, verse 21, it says, they were willing to take him into the boat, which just cracks me up. That's just so funny. Of course you're willing to take Jesus into the boat. They take him into the boat, and it says immediately the boat reached the shore where they were heading. That also was another crazy story for the disciples to have in their back pockets. And so he's Lord over time, distance, and we talked about that proximity piece a few weeks ago. And in the message on Sunday as well, if you haven't seen it, because I referenced it, but there is a YouTube video that Francis Chan put out, or probably his people put out, at least 10 years ago, maybe longer. So it's not super great quality, but it's called The Awe Factor of God. So we didn't watch it on Sunday. I did my best to kind of do a different version of it, but the whole idea is that it's just.
What do you mean? You created your own version of it? Is that?
I didn't create a video. I just used pictures.
Oh, you used pictures, right?
I went on a deep dive on the NASA website, you guys. It was a whole.
Oh, you mean the Hubble telescope? Those pictures?
If you want to be in awe of God, you should go on NASA, go and look at the Hubble telescope images that are captured. Amazing. So we looked at a few of those on Sunday, just kind of pulling us back out of the Earth, further and further and further to 250 billion light years away from Earth. I mean, are you kidding me? It's just amazing. And so just this idea of God is so much bigger than we can even attempt to comprehend. So of course he can walk on water. Of course he can calm a storm. He's Lord over it all. And rather than that making us feel small and insignificant, I think what that ought to do is it strikes up an awe and a reverence that the God of the universe is still so invested and interested in me and in you.
Yeah, it's interesting how the Apostle Paul in the book of Colossians in chapter 1, he gives us this picture of the cosmic Christ, where it's Jesus is the one through whom all things were made. Jesus is the one for whom all things are made. Jesus is the one holding all things together. Through Jesus, God is reconciling all things in heaven and on earth to himself. It's this huge, big picture of Jesus. And then you come to the Gospels, and sometimes you get Jesus tired and sleeping on a boat, or hungry and thirsty, and it's Jesus kind of localized, Jesus in the flesh. Yeah. But there's moments in this story where you get a picture of this cosmic Christ, and why Paul would write such things about a historical person.
Yeah.
This is the Jesus who calmed the storms.
Right.
This is the Jesus, the winds and the waves recognize his voice. It's the same voice that spoke them into creation. Exactly. He has authority over it. He can rearrange the water molecules so that he can stand on them, and all these kinds of crazy things. And so you talk about the bigness of Jesus, and that can create a sense of separation. Right. Jesus is so big, we're so small. But then your second point you said is the closeness of Jesus. Do you want to just bring us back into that, and then we'll throw to discussion?
Yeah. So part of the thing is that we see that the disciples were afraid when they saw Jesus. They thought, and we read in the other versions of the story in Matthew and in Mark's gospel, that they thought that he was a ghost, and so it kind of freaks them out, which makes sense. It's
right in time for Halloween. Fantastic timing.
great timing.
Ghosts are biblical. So, wow. I'm glad we all
Wow,
learned that together.
some people's feathers got really ruffled just now.
Yeah,
You know,
it's the Bible.
it is the Bible. No, but so back to the, I just get thrown, Chris. I just got thrown. What were we talking about? Oh,
The
ghosts,
fear.
Jesus, afraid, disciples. Got it. Okay, so they were afraid, and we could also say that maybe they weren't just afraid because it was they thought they were seeing a ghost, but also for their lives because it says that they were in a storm, and
Mm-hmm.
so something about this miracle we read. This is the thing. It says elsewhere, I think it's in Matthew, that, maybe it was Mark, that they still had not comprehended Jesus even after the loaves and the fish. Like they still didn't get it. But something about this miracle is whenever they got over their hard heartedness and they were like, surely he is the Son of God. Like something about this got to them. And so I think just on a really practical level, when it's talking about, or as I said, Jesus is closer than we think. He is Lord of the cosmos, and yet He is with us in storms when we're in it, when we're afraid, when we're scared for our lives. He's big, but small enough to be close to us. If we can kind of live in the tension of that, and I think again to stand in awe of the fact that even though He is creator and is still creating and doing all these wonderful things, not just in the cosmos, but in the world on a macro level, but also on a micro level. And he's very interested in our hearts, our what our affections are set on, even our safety, as we see in this story. He pays attention to us, and he's for us and not against us, and not just wants our hearts to be turned toward him, but I think is also cares that we see him in the right light, because before this the people were identifying him as prophet and wanted him to be, oh, well, let's make him king now, and it wasn't time yet because they had the identity part of him wrong. It was like, no, he's not just that. He is that, but he's so much more than that. He's Savior. And so, anyways, that was a little
There's so
side.
much there. I mean,
So
there's so
much
much there. And like you said earlier, it's why a small group's such a gift,
Yes.
because you get to go deeper into the story. Even if you're new to the Bible and you wouldn't even say you have faith, there's just a lot to wrestle with, a lot of questions to ask, and all questions and thoughts are welcome at small group. And so we're going to throw to discussion, and we hope it's a great one for all of you, and hope you enjoyed this new medium.
Hey, Chris, before we go, can I just do a shout out? I was at Sharissa's group last week, and they were
nice.
awesome. And I got to have dinner with Sharissa and meet the group. So, hey guys, I took a picture with them, a selfie that I was going to give to Lucas to throw on the video, but it was really blurry. But
Right.
I wish.
Well, they're complaining that your internet connection's weak and it's a little blurry.
Mine?
So there is a joke in my text thread about us adding a Wi-Fi upgrade for the Friesens as part of the month of generosity, so as to really,
I'm
help
looking at
us
my
keep
text
in touch.
thread, and I was left out of that. So I feel weird now.
No, it's to the whole staff. You just have to look back at your phone.
Okay.
You'll see it.
Okay,
You'll see
great.
it.
Pretty exciting.
All right.
Wait,
Well, everyone have a shout out to Charissa's group, and everyone else have an amazing small group discussion.